Hello, I'm Michael, and this is Tarot by the Tree. Uh, Over the last few years, we've done a number of videos. If you're not familiar with them, you should watch our first 10 videos called Tarot by the Tree, which explains what the cards mean by relating them to the Kabbalistic Tree of Life and Tree of Knowledge. And we teach this through the Fool's Two Journeys. We have other videos on the individual meanings of the minor arcana and the major arcana. These are because if you want to do this kind of card spreading or fortune telling, the first step is to know the meaning of the cards. If you're a believer in the instinctive method, you learn the cards first and then apply your other abilities once you know the cards. Today we're going to be looking at Kait. She has sent us in a few questions, and we're going to spread the cards and look at her fortune. Kait is a youngish female with a real variety in background. She's been in law enforcement, which if you think of it as like the knights in the cards, it's the application of law over top of society. She's also been a massage therapist, which is more of an internal thing on other people and very different from the aspects of law enforcement. And the third thing, she's been a spiritual philosopher, which is an overview, three very different things: law enforcement, massage therapist, and spiritual philosopher. She has a real varied way of looking at life. She feels maybe now she's in a kind of a static situation. After I read her letter, I wrote her sort of an overview. You seem to be in a rather static state right now where the changes you seek are not happening. You seek clarity of purpose, and there is a sense of loneliness or not being able to find the close relationships that you need. Sadness at times is also a part of your present reality. We're going to look, before we start the reading, at anger and criticism as common actions, and then we'll see what the cards have to say. A lot of people, when they're having a reading done, want to find two things. One is what to avoid in life. Do they have any habits that are maybe interfering with their progression? And the other thing is, what things should they do more of? Maybe there are some things that they're a little reluctant to do. If you're in a situation where the same thing keeps happening, it's really good to look at these two words. The first word is the word, if you're looking at self-development, we have to eliminate in ourselves, and that's anger. Anger is going to put a lid on what you can experience and what you could learn from the outside world. If you're the type of person who is responding to anger, reacting to anger, internal anger, it's going to be a problem. We all feel anger. It's when our actions reflect those feelings that we get into trouble. So the first thing, when we're trying to get out of a rut, is to take a look at ourselves, because it's very likely, without knowing it, we may be part of the problem. If anger is something you express, you should try not expressing that anger, even in awkward silences or backhanded compliments. Put the anger aside and recognize it as what you do when you lose control of some of your higher abilities. Anger is what we fall back on when everything's gone. So we don't want anger. Here's the thing we do want to embrace, and it's criticism. I always we're looking at getting out of a rut, improving ourselves. Criticism will become our friend. Once we get anger out of the picture, someone criticizes you before, there may be a feeling of wanting to retaliate, wanting to explain, wanting to justify. Put all that aside. Just you'll feel the anger, but you won't express it. Criticism actually becomes our best friend for two reasons. Number one, criticism always is partly true. If someone criticizes you, okay, they have pointed out something that is a little problem in you. You can justify it, you can excuse it, and you can explain it, but they have noticed something in you and it sticks out, and it's something that you could look at. All criticisms will have a little bit of truth in them regarding you. But here's the other thing of criticism. It also tells you something true about the other person. We are not bothered by things that are not present in ourselves. When someone criticizes you, they're giving you two little gifts. One, they're telling you something that's partially true about you and something you can address. Number two, they are giving you some information about themselves. The thing that you've done bothers them because it is something in them. So that's just the overview. As we're trying to change ourselves, we have to be open to the influences. Anger makes us closed. Embracing criticism leaves us open. And those are the things that we want to do. We're going to take a look at Kait. In all our readings, we always start with a vertical 3-card spread. And that's going to refer to the active bits of psychology that are at work in Kait right now. We're going to take, because this is sort of a general self-expression and self-growth question that she's asking, we're looking at the 4 parts of a person, and those 4 parts exist in all of us. They're the physical. And if you look at Maslow's hierarchy or anything, this is very important. If your physicality is causing you some kind of pain or distress, these other areas, the social, emotional, intellectual, may not be able to grow, develop, or even be very present at the time. Your physicality determines the ability of the other aspects of your personality to thrive. We're looking at your physical nature. We're looking at your intellectual nature, the things that you're thinking, the things that you're figuring out, the logic part of your mind. We're looking at the emotional, your feelings, and like physical, if your feelings become strongly disrupted, none of these other parts will develop. The physical and the emotional are the gatekeepers of development, so to speak. Social, we're looking at that. That's a very important aspect, and one that people often don't pursue directly, and they think of it as a side effect of other things, which is fine. But we do have to realize that the social part of our life feeds the other parts of our life as well. We're going to take a little look of a card in the support card at the past causes. What has led Kait to this feeling of, although she's explored a number of things, it's not enough. She wants to be in touch with reality a little bit more. And at the end, we're going to lay 2 cards down, and we'll see how this works. The first is the future you should work on, the aspects of your personality that in the future should be strengthened. And we're going to look in the future. Here's something you might want to avoid for a while. And we'll see how that works out. As always, we have the suit of staves, which is our work, our enterprise, our plans. We have coins, which are our possessions, our income, and our ability to be self-sufficient. We have cups, which is our joy and our happiness. And as we did mention, without this, the other parts may not be able to work effectively. And finally, we have our power. Power is sheathed because any use of power will inflict a little harm on the user as well. Power is something to have, to hold for self-defense, but it's not something that we want to be using on a regular basis. I've already taken a little bit of time to shuffle the cards, and at this point, we go through like this, just thinking of the different aspects of Kait and her reading. Okay, Joss tells me I sometimes show the cards when I do this. I'll try not to now. One final cut. Okay, this is Kait right now. These are the active bits of psychology in our mind. These are things that are propelling her towards the future. We're going to look at her physicality, her thoughts, her intellect right now, her logic. We're going to look at her feelings right now. And finally, we're going to look at the social aspects of her life. At the end, we're going to take a look at what she should work on in the future and perhaps something she might put to the side a little bit for a while in the near future. And finally, let's take a look at what started all of this, some of the active things in her past. We'll take a look at Kait now. Right now in Kait, we have an aspect of the King of Pentacles. This is the highest ranking member of the suit of coins. This is a king. He is great. He is powerful. In a sense, he is invulnerable. He has riches. He has wealth. He has that ability to be totally self-sufficient, and he is not dependent on other people. And this is perhaps a kind of an aspect of Kait's personality now, is that she does not want to be, as they say, beholden to anyone. She wants to be independent. And being able to have a certain amount of wealth is the only way that you cannot be indebted to other people. The other part of Kait's personality now is a star. The star is the highest form of love. The Lover's card is the first card, and this is the flip side of it. In the Lover's card, we see love received from another person. It's a two-way street, sort of a symbiotic relationship. That's love, youthful love. The star represents the highest form of love, the most mature kind of love that is giving to the water and the land. Naked is without pretense. And this is a form of wisdom, the ibis on the tree here. And this is giving with no thought of reward. So far, we see the idea of being totally able to be independent, the idea of being able to help and give to others for totally unselfish reasons. And finally, we see happiness in Kait right now is coming from memories of her past. There's something perhaps from her childhood that suggests a happy time, a complete time, and a balanced time. And she holds that in her mind, perhaps as an iconic image, something that she wants to return to. Moving on with Kate, we're going to look at the four aspects of her personality. First, we're going to look at the physicality, and we see here that although she's happy with her health, there's something missing. And this card suggests that she is looking for that missing part, even to the point of turning her back on some other happinesses. And this is a very healthy thing. It's like, I'm very happy. I've got lots of food, but I'm going to walk away from the chocolate cake because I know there's something missing. And this is about her physicality. This card is supported by a card that is very similar to the King of Pentacles. And this is the 10 of Pentacles. And this is a card of somebody who has reached full maturity and is looking ahead to other people carrying on their tradition. You'll notice that the 10 coins are in the shape of the tree of life, just showing the Kabbalistic connection. As far as physicality goes, there's something missing in her life. She is looking for it. Her aim is long term. Her aim is relative wealth, success, to the extent that she is able to pass it on to the people of her choice, perhaps the next generation. We'll take a look at her mind, her intellectual right now. And again, we are coming up with the coin imagery again and again. This is somebody who, and we're talking about her intellect now. She has some wealth. She's holding on to it tightly. This is a card not of a miser, but of somebody who is not wasteful. They are going to use their money, their wealth, to elevate their life. And there is a sense of this person being a minor king, a king in infancy, with the first bit of money wisely saved, wisely spent. The intellectual at this point shows Kate to be planning for the future and very wise in her use of what money she has. Now the intellectual, this card is somebody who's just started to get some money and they are holding on to it and feeling the sense of minor greatness that this allows them. But this card is supported by the dark night of the soul. And again, we see the tree of life motif, partial. This is a card about people who have lost everything. They're poor, destitute, they're lonely, and they're injured. They're sick. Intellectually, Kate is planning for her future because she has the wisdom to know that by not planning, the worst could happen. And the worst could happen is that she will be wholly dependent on the charity of others. And that is not a sustainable life goal. When we look at Kate's emotions now, her emotions, we would describe this as frazzled. This is a very busy card, juggling, dancing at the same time, and the waves in the background mean no help can arrive. As far as the emotions of Kate go, we would say that they're busy, they're constant, they may keep her awake at night, and there's a feeling that this isn't going to end. And she did mention that a little bit. And it's funny that this came out now. I'm a bit worried. I'm meant to be in this weird solitude forever because I can't find a way out into the world that anyone actually responds to. And I think that's really interesting, that emotionally now there's this feeling of this situation of being alone, being frazzled, isn't going to end. We're going to see what the supporting card of that is. And the supporting card of that is very similar. These two cards do go hand in hand. This card is somebody doing a lot of things with no help and feeling they can't do it forever. This card, the 10, is the end of a journey. And the end of this journey is saying Kate can do it. She's got lots of plans. She's capable of carrying the load, but it's difficult and it blinds her to the road ahead. She can't really see where she's going. She's successful in both these cards. We're talking about Kate's emotion now. In both these cards, she is doing it, but it's wearing her out. And I think that's sort of the message that comes very strongly here, that there is a sense of emotional drain and emotional reputation and emotionally not seeing the progress she would like. We'll finish up now with the social part of her life. This is Wheel of Fortune. This means that socially, Kate is at the mercy of the forces around her. The Wheel of Fortune is like a roller coaster or an adventure. You don't have control. There are forces more powerful than you that are pushing you here and there, and you're along for the ride at this point. This card is the beginning of the first fool's journey. And at this point, Kate socially may see things a little more mystically than they are, and that's the idea of the winged creatures. But the Sphinx means she does have the wisdom. Socially, there may be some fears and misconceptions, and she may find that socially there's more of an aspect of chance. She seems to just be pushed in this direction and the other, and her social is supported by a card of heartbreak. It could be, if we were to look at this, that socially Kate has been hurt in the past and is very wary of leaving herself vulnerable to all the vagaries of the whims of people in social life. She's careful, she's wary, she doesn't want to be hurt again. Okay, let's take a look before we take a look at the far future. What may have prompted all of this way back when? The past causes, we're looking at an interest in Kate to leave behind some of the successes that she has made, take what's left, and move somewhere else. She feels that it would be better to make her efforts towards success in another place where she would not be hampered by some of the past expectations that people might have. This card is supported with strength. This is a fantastic card. This is a female subduing a lion, but not killing it. She's not killing it because she's kind. This is not a card of kindness. This is a card of severity. This is a card that the greatest strength doesn't need bravado. It doesn't need to be filled with threats or warnings. The greatest strength is full control over the environment around you. And something in the past has created this strength. And we see that in the past, Kate had ideas of leaving behind some things and moving on. And she had developed the kind of strength to quietly do that. And there would be no obstacles in her way. As we wrap up this reading, we're going to look at the future. What should she work on in the future? This is the Tower. It's a tower that's been hit by lightning, and this means, I think of a post-cognizant dissonance, which is a phrase that means some of the things that you used to believe just aren't true. And this means that in the future, Kate has to think outside the box to the extent she may have to question some of her earlier beliefs. And so in the next few months to a year, as the near future, what she's working on is don't take for granted some of the beliefs that you have. Be open to new realizations. The part of her future she should avoid is the Knight of Cups. The Knight of Cups is a high-ranking person, really devoted to happiness. And you see the wings on his helmet, and the river at his feet. A lot of that happiness comes from his imagination. In the near future, when you feel happy, if that's not based on anything in your real life, you might want to just enjoy that feeling and then put it on the shelf. The idea is, don't spend a lot of time in your imagination for happiness. What we're looking at instead is break free of some of your existing paradigms and ideas and find happiness in the real world rather than your imagination. And that's it, Kait. You're an interesting person, and I hope you found this reading interesting as well. Thank you for communicating with us, and we'll see everybody again next week. Bye for now.
Well,